Sleepy Lab. I am so glad you are here. Wherever you are right now, tucked under your blanket, headphones in, the world quiet around you, I want you to take one slow, deep breath in and let it go. Tonight, we're going somewhere vast and ancient and beautifully mysterious. We're going to the ocean, covering more than 70% of our planet. The ocean is the largest, deepest, most unexplored place on Earth. It has been here for billions of years, long before us, long before the dinosaurs, long before almost anything we know. And tonight, we're going to drift through it together, fact by gentle fact, letting the deep blue world carry you slowly, softly, into sleep. There is nothing you need to do right now, nowhere to be, nothing to figure out. Just breathe and listen. Let your body sink a little heavier into where you are resting. Let your thoughts grow quieter with each word. The ocean is patient, endless, and tonight, so are we. Let us begin. The ocean covers about 71% of the Earth's surface, and yet more than 80% of it remains unexplored and unmapped by humans. We know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the bottom of our own seas. The average depth of the ocean is around 3688 meters. That is more than 12,000 feet. If you placed Mount Everest at the bottom of the deepest part of the ocean, its peak would still be more than a mile underwater. The Pacific Ocean alone is larger than all of Earth's landmasses combined. It stretches from the Arctic in the north to the Antarctic in the south, and from Asia to the Americas. The ocean produces at least 50% of the world's oxygen, possibly more. Most of this comes from tiny, drifting organisms called phytoplankton, which photosynthesize just like plants on land, releasing oxygen into the air we breathe. Seawater contains almost every element found on the periodic table. Dissolved in the ocean, you find gold, uranium, lithium, magnesium, and countless others. Though most in incredibly trace amounts, sound travels about 4 times faster in water than in air. In the deep ocean, there is a special layer called the SOFAR channel, where sound can travel thousands of miles, almost without losing energy. The blue whale, the largest animal ever known to have existed on Earth, lives in the ocean. Its heart is the size of a small car, and its heartbeat can be detected from over 2 miles away. The Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean is the deepest known point on Earth. Challenger Deep, its lowest point, reaches approximately 36,000 feet, nearly 11 kilometers below the surface. Despite the crushing pressure and complete darkness at the bottom of the ocean, life still thrives there. Strange, ghostly creatures, transparent fish, glowing jellyfish, and slow-moving sea cucumbers make their home in the abyss. The ocean absorbs about 25% of all the carbon dioxide humans produce. Without the ocean acting as this massive carbon sink, climate change would be happening far more rapidly than it is today. Coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, but support approximately 25% of all marine species. They are sometimes called the rainforests of the sea. The Great Barrier Reef in Australia is the largest living structure on Earth. It stretches over 2,300 kilometers and is so large it can be seen from outer space. Bioluminescence, the ability to produce and emit light, is far more common in the ocean than on land. It is estimated that 76% of ocean animals are capable of producing their own light. There are mountains, volcanoes, and vast plains on the ocean floor. The mid-ocean ridge is the longest mountain range in the world, nearly 65,000 kilometers long and almost entirely underwater. The ocean is not one uniform temperature. Near the surface, water can be warm and sun-soaked, But below about 200 meters, it drops sharply and remains consistently cold, just a few degrees above freezing. For most of the deep ocean, tides are caused primarily by the gravitational pull of the moon, and secondarily by the sunday. The ocean breathes in and out with these cosmic forces twice each day in most places around the world. The color of the ocean changes with depth and what is in it. Near the surface, it can appear brilliant blue or green. Deeper down, all light fades, and the water becomes an absolute, total darkness. Seahorses are one of the only animals where the male carries and gives birth to the young. A male seahorse can give birth to up to 2,500 babies at once. Octopuses have 3 hearts, blue blood, and are extraordinarily intelligent. They can open jars, solve puzzles, use tools, and even recognize individual human faces. The ocean contains hydrothermal vents, cracks, in the seafloor, where superheated water rich in minerals shoots out. Despite temperatures that can exceed 400 degrees Celsius, entire ecosystems thrive around these vents, powered not by sunlight, but by chemical energy. Dolphins sleep with one half of their brain at a time, keeping one eye open to watch for predators. They rest like this near the surface, so they can breathe when needed. A single drop of seawater, when seen under a microscope, is teeming with life, bacteria, viruses, tiny algae, and microscopic animals all living in that one tiny world. The ocean is home to the longest migration of any mammal on Earth. Grey whales travel up to 20,000 kilometers round trip between their feeding grounds in the Arctic and their breeding grounds near Mexico. Manta rays are among the most graceful creatures in the sea. They can grow up to 7 meters across, and yet they are completely harmless to humans, feeding only on tiny plankton by swimming slowly with their mouths open. The ocean has its own rivers and lakes. Dense, salty water sometimes flows along the seafloor, like underwater rivers, complete with currents, banks, and even waterfalls. Starfish, or sea stars, have no brain. Instead of blood, they pump seawater through their bodies to move and function, and if they lose an arm, they can grow it back. The ocean floor is covered in a thick, fine layer of sediment that has been accumulating for millions of years, a slow, silent snowfall of dead organisms, minerals, and cosmic dust drifting down from above. Sperm whales can dive deeper than almost any other mammal, down to 3,000 meters or more, and hold their breath for up to 90 minutes while hunting giant squid in the darkness below. There is a place in the ocean called the Midnight Zone, between 1,000 and 4,000 meters deep, where no sunlight ever reaches. Animals here have adapted to live in permanent darkness, some creating their own light, others navigating entirely by feel and vibration. The ocean plays a crucial role in regulating Earth's climate and weather. Ocean currents act like a giant conveyor belt, moving warm water from the tropics toward the poles and cold water back, distributing heat around the planet. Narwhals, the unicorns of the sea, have a long spiral tusk that is actually an overgrown tooth. It can grow up to 3 meters long and is filled with millions of nerve endings, possibly used to sense changes in the water around them. Some species of jellyfish are considered biologically immortal. When Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish, becomes old or stressed, it can revert back to its juvenile form and begin its life cycle all over again. The ocean is constantly in motion, even at the deepest, darkest, most still seeming places. The water is slowly moving, driven by temperature differences, salinity, and the rotation of the Earth itself. Whale songs can travel thousands of miles through the ocean. Blue whales produce some of the loudest sounds of any animal, and their low-frequency calls can cross entire ocean basins. Sea otters hold hands while they sleep, so they don't drift away from each other. These groups, called rafts, sometimes number in the hundreds, all floating together on the surface of the water. There are underwater caves and caverns that go deeper and stretch farther than almost any on land. The cenotes of Mexico, which connect to vast underwater cave systems, are among the most beautiful and mysterious places on Earth. The giant squid has the largest eyes of any living animal on Earth, up to 30 centimeters in diameter. These enormous eyes help them see in the near total darkness of the deep ocean. Every ocean on Earth is connected. There are no true walls or borders between them. Water that is in the Pacific today may, over centuries and millennia, find its way into the Atlantic, the Indian, or the Arctic Ocean. The Indian or the Arctic Ocean. The ocean has an average temperature of about 3.5 degrees Celsius. The surface is warmer, but the vast majority of the ocean, volume, the deep water, is cold, dark, and still. Mangrove forests grow at the edges of the sea where land meets ocean. Their tangled roots provide shelter for countless fish, protect coastlines from storms, and store enormous amounts of carbon. Humpback whales compose elaborate songs that change over time. Males sing complex, evolving melodies during breeding season. And remarkably, whales in different ocean basins seem to learn and adopt new songs from distant populations. The ocean floor contains vast plains of manganese nodules, small, potato-shaped rocks that have been slowly forming on the seafloor for millions of years. Rich in rare metals, clownfish, like Nemo, live exclusively among the stinging tentacles of sea anemones. A special mucus coating protects them from the stings, and in return they help keep the anemone clean and drive away predators. Deep sea fish often have enormous eyes or no eyes at all, depending on the depth they live at. Some use bioluminescent lures to attract prey in the darkness. Others have transparent bodies, almost invisible even up close. The ocean contains enormous underwater forests of kelp. These fast-growing algae can grow up to 60 centimeters per Dalton Y, forming towering underwater canopies that shelter hundreds of species of fish, invertebrates, and marine mammals. Dolphins communicate using a complex system of clicks, whistles, and body language. Each dolphin has a unique signature whistle, essentially its own name, which other dolphins use to call to it. There are places in the ocean so calm and so remote that they have been called the doldrums. Areas near the equator where the wind nearly stops and sailing ships were once trapped for weeks or months. Whale sharks are the largest fish in the ocean, reaching up to 18 meters in length. Despite their size, they are gentle filter feeders, swimming slowly through the water with their enormous mouths open, sieving out tiny plankton. The deep ocean floor is one of the most stable environments on Earth, unchanged for millions of years, with no seasons, no weather, no sunlight, and almost no variation in temperature or pressure. You made it halfway through our ocean journey. The deep blue is all around you now. Let your breathing slow, your body heavy, your mind adrift on the surface of a very calm. Seagrass meadows cover vast areas of the shallow seafloor and are among the most productive ecosystems on Earth. They provide food and shelter for seahorses, turtles, manatees, and countless other species. The ocean has witnessed the entirety of Earth's history. Its waters were here before the first fish, before the first plant, before the first breath of oxygen entered our atmosphere. It is the oldest living archive on our planet. Orcas, or killer whales, live in complex social groups and have distinct cultures. Different pods have their own unique dialects, hunting techniques, and traditions that are passed down from generation to generation. Sea turtles can live for more than 100 years. They navigate using Earth's magnetic field, and females return to the exact same beach where they were born, sometimes after decades at sea, to lay their own eggs. The Sargasso Sea is the only sea in the world defined not by land but by ocean currents. It sits in the middle of the North Atlantic, filled with floating mats of golden sargassum seaweed that shelter a unique community of life. Pelicans have a large pouch beneath their beak that can hold 3 times more than their stomach. They use it to scoop up fish and drain out seawater before swallowing. The ocean floor is dotted with the wrecks of ancient ships, thousands of them perfectly preserved in the cold, dark oxygen, poor deep water. Some have been there for hundreds or thousands of years. Untouched, sea cucumbers breathe through their bottoms, drawing water in and out through their rear end to extract oxygen. Some species expel their own internal organs when threatened and then slowly grow them back. The ocean is thought to have originated from water delivered by comets and asteroids in the early solar system, as well as from water vapor released by volcanic activity, a very ancient gift from space itself. Seals and sea lions sleep in the water, floating just below the surface, or bobbing with just their noses above the waves, breathing in slow, rhythmic breaths as they doze in the open sea. There are underwater rivers of cold, dense, salty water that flow along the ocean floor for thousands of miles, carved into channels and canyons, just like rivers on land, invisible, silent, and immense. The pistol shrimp can snap its claws so fast that it creates a cavitation bubble, a tiny burst of superheated plasma that briefly reaches temperatures as hot as the surface of the sunday, before collapsing and stunning or killing prey. Manatees, sometimes called sea cows, are the closest living marine relatives of elephants. They are gentle, slow, moving grazers that spend their days drifting through warm coastal waters, eating seagrass. Some fish, like the deep sea barreli, have transparent heads. Their tubular eyes point upward through a clear dome of fluid, watching for the silhouettes of prey above them in the dim twilight waters. The Southern Ocean encircles Antarctica and drives one of the most important ocean current systems on Earth. Cold, dense water formed here sinks to the bottom and travels northward, slowly ventilating the deep waters of every ocean. Some species of deep sea fish are almost entirely made of water. Their bodies are so gelatinous that they would dissolve and fall apart if brought to the surface. They exist only in the crushing pressure of the deep. Humpback whales use a remarkable hunting technique called bubble net feeding. A group of whales circles below a school of fish, blowing bubbles in a tightening spiral to trap and concentrate the fish before they all lunge upward together. Nudibranchs are tiny, brilliantly colored sea slugs that come in almost every color and pattern imaginable. Despite their beauty, many are toxic, and their vivid colors serve as a warning to wood. Bee predators. The ocean has its own weather system beneath the surface. Massive, slow, moving underwater eddies, some hundreds of kilometers wide, swirl through the deep, carrying nutrients, organisms, and heat across vast distances. The mimic octopus can change not just its color and texture, but its shape and behavior, impersonating other animals like lionfish, flatfish, or sea snakes to avoid or deter predators. Polar bears swim long distances between ice floes in the Arctic Ocean, their thick fur and layer of fat keeping them insulated in waters that would be fatally cold to most animals in minutes. The ocean produces a compound called dimethylsulfonopropionate, released by certain algae that gives the sea its distinctive smell. When it evaporates into the air, it contributes to cloud formation. The ocean literally helps make the sky above it. Flying fish can glide above the water's surface for up to 45 seconds and travel as far as 400 meters in a single leap, reaching speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour to escape predators below. There are hundreds of known species of deep sea creatures that have never been seen alive, only their remains or fragments, recovered from the stomachs of other animals or from sediment samples. The ocean absorbs enormous amounts of heat from the sun and releases it slowly, moderating the temperature of coastal regions and making them far more temperate and livable than inland areas at the same latitude. Cuttlefish are masters of disguise, able to change the color, pattern, and texture of their skin in milliseconds. Scientists believe they may also communicate with each other through these shifting displays of light and pattern. There are places on the ocean floor where the sediment is so fine and undisturbed that the tracks and trails of creatures that walked there thousands of years ago are still perfectly preserved. The archerfish hunts by spitting jets of water at insects on branches above the surface, knocking them into the water below. It accounts for light refraction between air and water to aim accurately, a remarkable feat of physics and instinct. Icebergs are made of fresh water, not salt water. They carve from glaciers and ice sheets, drifting slowly out to sea where they melt over years, releasing ancient ice. Some of it formed thousands of years ago, back into the ocean. The ocean has its own form of snow. Marine snow is a continuous shower of tiny organic particles, dead plankton, mucus, bits of food, that drifts slowly downward from the surface to the seafloor, feeding the creatures of the deep. Hammerhead sharks have wide, flattened heads that give them a 360-degree field of vision, allowing them to see above and below simultaneously. Their unusual head shape also helps them detect the electrical fields of prey buried in the sand. The oldest continuously living marine organism known is the ocean quahog clam. One specimen, named Ming, was estimated to be 507 years old when it was discovered. Born in 1499, before Shakespeare was alive, the deep ocean is a place of extraordinary silence. Sound behaves differently there than at the surface. Some frequencies carry impossibly far, while others are absorbed almost instantly. It is a world of dim, mysterious acoustics. Sea sponges are among the simplest animals on Earth. They have no nervous system, no muscles, and no organs. They simply filter water through their porous bodies, extracting bacteria and organic particles as food. Basking sharks are the second largest fish in the ocean. They swim slowly near the surface with their enormous mouths gaping open, filtering plankton, up to 2,000 tons of water per HR, with effortless, unhurried grace. The ocean is gradually getting louder. Human activities, shipping, sonar, drilling, have significantly increased underwater noise levels over the last century, affecting marine animals that rely on sound to communicate, navigate, and find mates. Emperor penguins dive deeper than any other bird, down to 550 meters, and can hold their breath for more than 20 minutes. Their bodies are adapted to slow their heart rate dramatically during a dive to conserve oxygen. There are underwater mountains, called seamounts, that rise thousands of meters from the seafloor, but never break the surface. These hidden peaks are biodiversity hotspots, attracting currents of nutrient-rich water and the creatures that feed on them. The deep sea anglerfish uses a bioluminescent lure, a glowing appendage dangling in front of its mouth. to attract prey in the absolute darkness. The light is produced by bacteria living inside the lure in a remarkable partnership. The ocean holds enough water that if the Earth's surface were perfectly smooth, the ocean would cover the entire planet to a depth of about 2.7 kilometers. We live on the thin, jagged peaks of a mostly submerged world. Horseshoe crabs have been on Earth for more than 450 million years, older than the dinosaurs, older than most life on land. Their blue blood contains a compound used to test medical equipment and vaccines for safety. Beluga whales are sometimes called the canaries of the sea for their wide range of vocalizations. Clicks, chirps, moose, and whistles. They are highly social and use these sounds to communicate within their tight, knit pods. The open ocean, far from any coast, is sometimes called the desert of the sea. Compared to coastal regions and coral reefs, it contains relatively little life because nutrients are scarce and the water is clear and unproductive. Seawater is slightly denser than freshwater because of the dissolved salts it contains. This density difference is what allows objects to float more easily in the ocean, and is part of why the ocean's currents behave the way they do. Mantas and rays are related to sharks. They evolved from shark ancestors millions of years ago, losing many teeth and flattening their bodies as they adapted to life on or near the seafloor or in the open water. There are more stars in the universe than grains of sand on all of Earth's beaches, but if you include the sand on the ocean floor, estimates suggest there may be more grains of sand on Earth than stars in the observable universe. The ocean is full of symbiotic relationships, partnerships between species that benefit both. Cleaner shrimp set up stations where fish line up to have parasites removed. Remora fish attach to sharks and eat their leftovers. The ocean is full of quiet, constant cooperation. Sunfish, or mola, are the heaviest bony fish in the world, sometimes weighing over 2,000 kilograms. They look like a swimming head, round, flat, and enormous, and can often be seen floating near the surface, basking in the sun. Every wave that reaches the shore began somewhere far out at sea. The energy that lifts the sand at your feet may have traveled thousands of miles, born from a distant storm, shaped by the wind, carried patiently across the vast open water to arrive here, exactly now. And the ocean keeps going, long after you fall asleep tonight, long after every light goes off and every dream begins. The ocean will still be there, breathing in, breathing out, carrying life in its depths, reflecting the moonlight on its surface, patient and ancient and endlessly gently. Here, the ocean breathes with the seasons. In summer, warmer surface waters hold less dissolved oxygen. In winter, cold water sinks and carries oxygen down into the deep, a slow annual exchange between the surface and the abyss. There are rivers in the sky above the ocean. Atmospheric rivers are long, narrow bands of water vapor, sometimes thousands of kilometers long, that carry enormous amounts of moisture from the tropics to higher latitudes, where they fall as rain or snow. The Pacific Ocean is shrinking. The Atlantic is growing. Over millions of years, the tectonic plates beneath the seafloor slowly spread apart or pushed together, reshaping the basins of the world. Oceans in imperceptible, patient motion. Some fish in the deep ocean produce light, not for their own sake, but to disappear by matching the faint glow of the water above them with bioluminescence on their bellies. They erase their own shadow, invisible to predators looking up from below. The ocean floor is not static. It is constantly being created at mid-ocean ridges, where molten rock pushes up from below and consumed at subduction zones, where it dives back beneath the continents. The ocean floor you stand above today is younger than almost any rock on land. Whale falls, the bodies of dead whales that sink to the sea floor create entire ecosystems. In the deep ocean, a single whale carcass can support a community of hundreds of species for decades, slowly releasing nutrients back into the world. Sea glass begins as broken bottles, plates, or windows that fall into the sea. Over years and decades, the waves tumble the shards against sand and stone, smoothing every edge until what was once sharp and dangerous becomes soft, frosted, and beautiful. The color blue is rare in nature on land, but the ocean has it in abundance. The deep blue of open water comes from the way seawater absorbs red and yellow wavelengths of light and scatters the shorter blue wavelength back toward the surface. Nautilus shells grow in a perfect logarithmic spiral, one of the purest mathematical forms in nature. The Nautilus itself has remained almost unchanged for 500 million years, carrying its elegant geometry through the entirety of animal history. Siphonophores are among the longest animals on Earth, some reaching over 40 meters in length. They are not a single creature, but a colony of thousands of specialized individuals, each performing a different function, moving together as one. The moon controls more than just the tides. Coral reefs synchronize their mass spawning events with the full moon, releasing eggs and sperm into the water in a single coordinated nighttime event that turns the ocean briefly white with life. The Arctic Ocean is the smallest and shallowest of the world. In winter, more than half of its surface freezes over, forming sea ice that floats and drifts, carrying nutrients and organisms across the top of the world. Some deep sea creatures have blood that carries oxygen more efficiently than ours. Certain Antarctic fish have evolved blood that stays fluid even near freezing temperatures, filled with antifreeze proteins that prevent ice crystals from forming inside their vein. The Humboldt Current runs cold along the western coast of South America, carrying nutrients up from the deep and supporting one of the most productive marine ecosystems on Earth. Millions of fish, seabirds, sea lions, and whales, all sustained by that one cold, upwelling stream. Ocean trenches are not smooth valleys. They are jagged, fractured places where the seafloor has crumpled and folded under enormous pressure. Their walls are steep, their floors are sediment filled, and they are among the most geologically active places on the planet. Sharks have been on Earth for more than 450 million years, predating the dinosaurs by hundreds of millions of years. In that vast span of time, they have survived 5 mass extinctions, adapting quietly and efficiently while entire worlds rose and fell around them. The deep ocean has its own form of rain. When tiny marine animals migrate to the surface at night to feed and then sink back down by day, they carry carbon from the surface into the deep, a living biological pump that moves enormous amounts of carbon out of the atmosphere each year. Sea ice is not just frozen ocean. As seawater freezes, it expels its salt, creating pockets of extremely cold, extremely salty brine that trickle downward through the ice. These tiny channels are home to algae and bacteria, a whole microscopic world living inside the ice itself. The ocean is home to the slowest heartbeats on Earth. Blue whales, when they dive deep, slow their heart rate to as few as 2 beats per minute, a long, quiet pulse. In the cold dark, marking time in the ancient rhythm of the deep, crinoids, or feather stars, look like flowers growing on the seafloor. They are animals, not plants, waving their delicate arms to catch drifting particles of food. The Amazon River discharges so much fresh water into the Atlantic Ocean that you can taste fresh water more than 100 miles offshore. For thousands of years, sailors knew they were approaching land, not by sight, but by the sudden change in the taste of the sea. Baby seahorses, called fry, are born fully formed, tiny, perfect replicas of their parents, each no larger than a grain of rice. From the moment they emerge, they are on their own, clinging to whatever they can find with their delicate, curling tails. The Atlantic broke through the land barrier at what is now the Strait of Gibraltar and refilled it in what geologists believe was one of the largest floods in Earth's history. Sperm whales have the largest brains of any animal that has ever lived on Earth. Their skulls are filled not just with brain tissue, but with a waxy substance called spermaceti, which may help them focus and direct the powerful sonar clicks they use to hunt in the dark. There are underwater waterfalls. The largest in the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland carries water 3,500 meters downward, 3.5 times taller than Angel Falls, entirely invisible beneath the surface of the sea. The ocean contains ghost forests in shallow coastal areas. Rising seas and shifting sands sometimes submerge entire stands of trees, their bleached trunks still standing underwater, years or centuries after the land they grew on disappeared beneath. Mantis shrimp have 16 types of color receptors in their eyes, compared to the 3 that humans have. They can perceive ultraviolet light, infrared light, and polarized light, seeing a world of color and pattern completely invisible to almost every other animal on Earth. The Coriolis effect, caused by Earth's rotation, gives ocean gyres their spin. In the northern hemisphere, major ocean currents rotate clockwise. In the southern hemisphere, they rotate counterclockwise. The ocean remembers which way the world turns. Dolphins have been observed grieving. Mothers have been seen carrying the bodies of dead calves for days, nudging them gently toward the surface. Other members of the pod stay close, moving slowly, quieter than usual, in what researchers describe as mourning. The world's largest recorded wave was nearly 524 meters tall, a mega tsunami that struck Litua Bay in Alaska in 1958. It was caused by a massive landslide dropping into the bay, and it stripped trees from the surrounding mountains hundreds of meters above sea level. Some corals are extraordinarily old. Individual coral colonies in the Pacific have been dated to more than 4,000 years old. Living structures older than the pyramids of Giza, quietly building themselves in the warmth of a shallow, sunlit sea. Tuna are warm, blooded in a way that most fish are not. By circulating blood through a special network of vessels near their swimming muscles, they keep their body temperature warmer than the surrounding water, giving their muscles more power and allowing them to swim with extraordinary speed and endurance. There are places in the ocean where the water is so clear that visibility extends 80 meters or more. The Weddell Sea near Antarctica holds some of the clearest water on Earth, a window into the deep that early explorers described as like looking through air. The sea has its own perfume. The distinctive smell of the ocean, that clean, briny scent carried on the wind, comes from a combination of salt, seaweed, and the chemical compounds released by marine bacteria as they break down organic matter in the water. Eelgrass meadows in shallow coastal waters provide one of the ocean's quietest sounds. A soft, steady rustle as long green blades sway in the current. These meadows buffer coastlines from waves, absorb carbon, and provide nursery habitat for hundreds of species of young fish. The first life on Earth almost certainly originated in the ocean, whether near hydrothermal vents, in shallow tidal pools, or somewhere in between. The first self-replicating molecules, the distant ancestors of all life, emerged in water. The ocean is not just home to life. Limpets, small, conical shellfish that cling to rocks on the shoreline, have teeth made of the strongest biological material ever tested. Their tiny iron-reinforced teeth can withstand forces comparable to the strongest synthetic materials humans have ever created. The ocean stores heat differently at different depths. The mixed layer at the surface warms and cools with the seasons. Below it, the thermocline holds a temperature gradient, and in the deepest water, cold and ancient and still, temperatures change only over timescales of centuries. Migratory seabirds like albatrosses spend almost their entire lives over the open ocean, returning to land only to breed. A wandering albatross may travel more than 120,000 kilometers in a year, circling the Southern Ocean on wings that barely need to flap, riding the endless wind. The ocean is one of the few places on Earth where the night sky is truly reflected, far from any coast, in the flat calm of a windless sea. The stars and the water become indistinguishable, the Milky Way stretching both above and below you, endlessly. Deep-sea isopods are giant relatives of the common pill bug. Some species grow to nearly 50 centimeters long, creeping slowly along the seafloor, scavenging whatever drifts down from above. They can survive for years without food, waiting with extraordinary patience in the dark. The salinity of the ocean has remained remarkably stable for hundreds of millions of years. Although rivers constantly deliver new salt from the land, ocean chemistry self-regulates, minerals precipitating out of solution at roughly the same rate new ones arrive, keeping the sea in a kind of chemical balance. Flying squid rarely fly. Certain species of squid can launch themselves out of the water, spread their fins like wings, and glide through the air for distances of up to 30 meters, propelled by a jet of water from their bodies and steered by their outstretched tentacles. At the poles, the ocean freezes from the surface down. At the equator, the warmest water floats at the top. In between, the ocean is layered, stratified by temperature and salinity into distinct zones that barely mix, each with its own character, its own chemistry, and its own life. The parrotfish is one of the ocean's great sand makers. It bites off chunks of coral with its beak, like teeth, grinds the rock to extract the algae inside, and excretes the crushed coral as fine white sand. A single parrotfish can produce hundreds of kilograms of sand each year. There are caves underwater that have never been fully explored. The cenote oxbell har in Mexico is part of a flooded cave system more than 270 kilometers long, the longest underwater cave ever mapped, with chambers so large that divers have gotten lost and never returned. The ocean glows. In rare conditions, waves stirred by passing boats or footsteps on wet sand trigger a bloom of bioluminescent plankton, and the water lights up blue, each movement leaving a trail of cold blue fire in the dark. Whales evolved from land mammals about 50 million years ago. An ancestor that looked something like a wolf waded into shallow coastal waters to feed on fish. Over millions of years, its descendants gradually moved into the sea, losing their hind limbs and developing the tail flukes and flippers of the whales we know today. The ocean has its own mountains of sound. The Sofar Channel, that deep layer where sound travels most efficiently, acts like a wave guide, trapping sounds and carrying them across entire ocean basins. Whales may use it to communicate across distances of thousands of miles. Some species of sharks must keep swimming to breathe, forcing water over their gills in constant motion. If they stop, they suffocate. They have been swimming without pause, day and night, their entire lives, restless, patient, and endlessly moving through the dark. Sea stars can regenerate from almost nothing. In some species, a single severed arm, containing even a fragment of the central disc, can grow an entirely new body. The arm slowly, over months, rebuilds itself from one small piece into a complete animal. The ocean carries the sediment of continents. Every river that reaches the sea brings with it sand, clay, and mineral particles worn from mountains and plains. At the river's mouth, this sediment fans out in deltas. Soft, shifting, fertile land slowly built from the interior of the world. There are animals in the ocean that have no fixed body plan. Some species of jellyfish have no fixed left or right, no front or back. They drift and pulse with a radial symmetry, equal in all directions, perfectly adapted to a life without destination. The Indian Ocean is the warmest of the world's 5 major oceans. Its closed northern basin traps heat from the tropics, and its waters warm the land masses around it, driving the monsoon rains that billions of people across South Asia depend on each year. Coconut crabs are the largest land arthropods on Earth, but they begin their lives in the ocean. Their larvae drift in the sea for weeks before crawling onto land, and spend the rest of their lives on islands, climbing trees at night and living for up to 60 years. The ocean holds memories, chemical signals, temperature, salinity, dissolved gases are preserved in layers of water that sank decades or centuries ago. Oceanographers can read these signals like tree rings, reconstructing the climate of the past from the water itself. There are places in the sea called cold seeps, where methane and hydrogen sulfide leak slowly from the seafloor, just like hydrothermal vents. These cold, chemical, rich places support entire ecosystems of tube worms, clams, and bacteria. Life thriving entirely without sunlight. The longest recorded journey of a tagged shark was more than 20,000 kilometers. A great white shark that swam from South Africa to Australia and back in under a year, crossing open ocean with a precision that still puzzles scientists. The moon is slowly moving away from Earth, about 3.8 centimeters per year. As it does, the tides it drives will gradually weaken over millions of years. The slow breathing of the ocean, its twice daily rise and fall, will become shallower with the passage of deep time. Bioluminescent bays exist in a few places around the world: Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Vietnam, where the water is so thick with glowing dinoflagellates that swimming at night turns the water into living light. Every stroke of an arm, every kick of a foot leaves a trail of blue fire. The giant Pacific octopus lives for only 3 to 5 years. In that brief span, it grows from a speck barely visible to the eye into an animal that can weigh 15 kilograms or more, stretch 4 meters across, and open almost any container humans have ever devised. Wave energy travels through water, but the water itself doesn't travel with it. The molecules in a wave move in small circular paths, returning almost exactly to where they started. The energy moves, the ocean stays. A wave is a passage of energy through water, not a movement of the water itself. Pilot whales are highly social and are among the most common cetaceans to strand on beaches. Researchers believe that when one member of a pod is in distress, the others follow, unwilling to leave behind a companion. Their loyalty to each other sometimes carries them to shore. There is a place in the Pacific called Point Nemo, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. so remote that the nearest humans are usually the astronauts aboard the International Space Station, passing 400 kilometers overhead. Below it, the seafloor is cold, dark, and almost entirely still. The weight of the ocean is so immense that it actually depresses the crust of the Earth beneath it. Remove the ocean, and the seafloor would slowly rise by hundreds of meters as the rock beneath it, freed from its burden, rebounded upward over millions of years. Sea otters are a keystone species. By eating sea urchins, they prevent urchin populations from exploding and devouring kelp forests. Where sea otters thrive, kelp thrives. Where kelp thrives, fish thrive. One small animal holds an entire underwater forest in balance. The oldest water in the ocean, the deep abyssal water formed in polar regions and slowly circulating through the depths, may have been out of contact with the surface for more than 1,000 years. It is older than most nations on Earth, moving in silence through the dark. Translucent creatures are common in the deep sea not because they evolved transparency, but because they never needed to evolve color. In a world where no sunlight reaches, pigment is expensive and purposeless. Their bodies are clear simply because there was never any reason for them to be otherwise. There are fish that walk. Mud skippers in tropical tidal zones use their strong pectoral fins to haul themselves across mud flats, breathing through their moist skin when out of water. They are a glimpse of the transition that happened 375 million years ago, when the ancestors of all land vertebrates first left the sea. The Southern Ocean was only officially recognized as the world's fifth ocean in 2021, designated by the National Geographic Society and given formal status on World Oceans Day. For centuries, it was considered just the southern reaches of the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. It had always been there. Some octopuses carry shells as portable shelters. Veined octopuses have been observed collecting coconut shell halves from the seafloor, tucking them under their bodies, and carrying them for long distances, pulling the shells beneath themselves when threatened. Scientists consider this tool use. Every grain of sand on every beach began somewhere else. Sand is the end product of millions of years of erosion. Mountains ground to pebbles, pebbles ground to grit, grit ground to something fine enough to slip between your fingers and catch the light. Seawater under pressure becomes more dense, not more compressible. Even at the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench, water remains essentially liquid, only slightly denser than surface water. It is this near incompressibility that allows the ocean to transmit pressure so efficiently, so far, so fast. Dolphins have been observed playing with bubble rings, pushing jets of air from their blowholes, and then chasing, biting, and swirling the rings they create, apparently for no reason other than the pleasure of it. Play, it turns out, is not uniquely human. There are forests of black smokers on the ocean floor, clusters of chimney like hydrothermal vents that pour out superheated, mineral-rich water, building tall towers of iron, zinc, and sulfide around themselves. They are among the most otherworldly landscapes on Earth. Coral bleaching happens when the ocean warms. The tiny algae that live inside coral tissue, providing their color and most of their energy, are expelled when water temperatures rise too high. The coral turns white. Without its algae, it slowly starves, but in cooler water, with time, it can recover. The ocean absorbs sound from thunderstorms passing overhead. The rain that hits the surface creates a layer of tiny bubbles that scatter and dampen sound below. In a heavy storm, the underwater world becomes strangely quiet, muffled as if the sea has pulled a blanket over itself. The blue-ringed octopus is one of the most venomous animals in the ocean. It is the size of a golf ball, lives in tide pools and shallow reefs, and carries enough venom to kill a human in minutes. Its rings glow with brilliant, pulsing blue only when it feels threatened. In calm water, it is nearly invisible. Orcas have been documented teaching their young to hunt. A mother will beach herself briefly on a shoreline, demonstrating how to slide up onto the sand to catch sea lions, then sliding back into the water. The calf watches and practices, learning a skill that took generations to perfect. The deep ocean plays a role in the carbon cycle that scientists are only beginning to understand. Some carbon sinks to the bottom and stays there for millions of years, locked in sediment. Some is slowly cycled back up. The ocean is not just storing carbon, it is thinking about it at geological speed. There are rivers of warm surface water flowing through the cooler ocean, meandering jets called oceanic fronts, where two masses of water of different temperatures and salinities meet. Along these fronts, plankton blooms, fish gather, and seabirds follow, a thin moving ribbon of abundance in the open sea. The Portuguese man-o'-war is not a jellyfish, it is a siphonophore, a colony of individual organisms, each specialized for a different function, working together so closely they function as a single animal. Its tentacles can extend 30 meters below the surface, hunting in the water column, far beneath the float that bobs at the top. Coral sand beaches are white. As coral dies and its skeleton breaks apart, waves grind it into fine powder. The brilliant white sand of tropical beaches is the accumulated remains of reefs. The ocean's own slow, patient architecture reduced to something soft enough to walk on. Hagfish are among the most ancient vertebrates alive. They are jawless, eyeless, and when threatened, they release enormous quantities of thick, fibrous slime, clogging the gills of predators and escaping in the confusion. They have been refining this defense for 300 million years. The ocean is changing. Its temperature is rising. Its chemistry is shifting. Its ice is retreating. These changes are happening faster than almost any natural transition in the ocean's long history, and yet the ocean endures. It has survived asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, and mass extinctions. It is patient in ways we are only beginning to understand. UV made it through the second half of our ocean journey. The tide is very low now. The water is very still. You are floating somewhere gentle and warm. Your thoughts dissolved into the current, carrying nothing. The ocean doesn't need you to stay awake. It has been here for 4 billion years. It will be here when you wake. Let yourself go now, slowly, quietly down. And there we are, 100 gentle facts from the deep blue world. You've traveled far tonight, from sunlit coral reefs to the cold, silent abyss. From the very first waves to the ocean that exists right now, moving quietly somewhere in the dark. The ocean doesn't rush. It doesn't. It simply moves and breathes and holds the world together. And now it is your turn to rest. Let your eyes stay heavy. Let your thoughts drift out like a tide going slowly back to sea. There is nothing more to do tonight. The world is taken care of. The sleepy lab will be here when you wake up. Good night. Sleep deeply.